So this first maniac is not who's in the picture behind me. And for folks who are watching the radio, behind me is Colin Kaepernick. He is a quarterback for the 49ers. The reason the maniac are the 1,100 Americans who say that Kaepernick is the most disliked player in the NFL. And here's why. So I stand with Kaepernick and every other player that has chosen not to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or the national anthem at a game. Now let me be very clear before I get into the story, because I know what people are getting ready to say. This has nothing to do with our veterans at all. Nothing. I support our troops. One of my best friends fought in the Battle of Fallujah. And there's nothing more that I support than our troops, and I believe that we should never, ever put our troops in harm's way without enough troops and enough resources to secure peace, and we should never let them we should never shed our country's youth and treasure for bullshit. Those are the facts. But now into this. The reason why Kaepernick is kneeling is because there's far too much injustice, there's far too much bigotry, and there's far too much racism in this country. So while everybody stands and they put their hand on their heart as they're singing the national anthem where it says, where they talk about the pledge, but both are the same, they're the same thing, right? Like they're inexplicably the same, right? Is this idea of liberty and justice for all. Nope. What we have in this country is liberty and justice for a chosen few, right? This is not the land of the free for all Americans. This is the land of the free for some Americans. And for the rest of us, we're not free. We're constantly oppressed. We're constantly held down. You don't have to take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Just ask the family of Laquan McDonald, or ask the family of Jordan Davis, or ask the family of Rakia Boyd, or ask the family of Sandra Rhimes. I can go on and on, not Sandra Rhimes, Sandra Bland, excuse me. Ask all these families, the family of Eric Garner, if this is truly the land of the free. Because if it was the land of the free, then Alton Sterling, the gentleman who had the ability to carry a gun because that is our constitutional right, would have been able to carry his gun without the threat of death, and he ultimately ended up dying at the hands of police because he was carrying a weapon that he's allowed to carry because of our Constitution. So the reason why Kaepernick and all these other players are kneeling and refusing to stand during our national anthem is because America has to do some soul searching. Some really serious, deep soul searching to figure out why, after 400 years of compressed racism in the 21st century, after electing a black man to be president of the United States, we are still dealing with the same stain of racism that caused us to get into the Civil War in 1865. America, we are not living up to what our Constitution says. We're not living up to the 14th Amendment. We're not living up to equal protection. We're not living up to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all Americans. And since we're not living up to it, people have got to sit down so that we as a nation can stand up and move forward. So I applaud Kaepernick, and I applaud every athlete that is bold enough and brave enough to say, I am going to use my talent and I am going to use my platform to have a speech act or an act against oppression and an act for true freedom and true justice and true liberty for all Americans and not just a chosen few. If you are out there today and you believe that all lives matter, then you should believe that a black life matters. And if you believe that a black lives matter, then you should be asking yourself the question: why is it that amongst police departments across this country, those same black lives don't matter? But Colin Kaepernick, from us here at the Fowler Show, number one, we got your back. And number two, and most importantly, Black lives matter.